Shalom, Salama, Siemi, Shalawam. Greetings, my Israelite brothers and sisters from across the globe, whether you're a bloodline or grafted in. And so this morning, I'm coming to you in better spirits because honestly, I got up this morning and I was very perturbed. I was very perturbed because, see, when I had woken up earlier this week, my mornings would start off as, how long are we going to be here? How long are we going to be in this place? How long are we going to suffer? How long? How long? All these questions were being placed to my spirit. And when you have all these questions, you want all these answers, and you realize that the Most High is a God, a Lord, a Haya, whatever title we want to give him. He's the God, the Most High of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He is I am that I am. So our Father, I'll say that because he is our Father. He's placing us on this bubble. See, I'm in the Tampa area, and less than an hour from me is Disney World, and that's where they have the NBA playoffs going, and they have it in a place called the Bubble over at the ESPN Wide World of Sports. And I've been there many times because my kids play competitive sports. And, I thought for just my kids playing there, that was nice. And then now, yeah, professionals playing there, which I think is funny because never would I have imagined that, you had the WNBA, which is just south of me, and Bradenton. You also have soccer going on in the same locale. And so all of a sudden, Central and Southern Florida became the mecca of sports. And so I don't want to really tangent off too much on that because I was trying my best. I said, Lord, how do you want me to deliver this? This is a great message. I know what I want to say and how I want to say it. Because Teo had placed this thing. He was getting into kind of the nitty and gritty, but I wanted to get into much more of the nitty and gritty from the extra biblical sources. And so the Most High, when I was on my walk, he said, no, get up, go get walking, because I had been lazy. And see, during this time when we start to encounter tough things, and we start to encounter things that are very beyond our control, it is our nature to try to ignore those problems. And so when we ignore those problems, we think that those problems, okay, they're going to work itself on out if we don't concentrate on the problem. But the issue is we actually have to concentrate. And not only concentrate, we actually have to deal with it. Because if you don't deal with something, you will go and be burnt down in that burning house. So the other day, I brought on out a video and talking about Martin Luther King and how he had said, we're integrating into a burning house. And then yesterday, Teo had brought on up Bob Woodward's accounts because as soon as I made that video, it was just showtime. Everything was lighting up on CNN, everything was looking good. And I was telling people, I said, look, um, it's all about the money and it's all about the markets. They can control the money. They can control the markets. That's what honestly, that's what the devil had given them that power to do. That's what the serpent had given them the power to do, to control the money supply. So if everything else is being judged, oh man, rest assured, everything in terms of the stock market is just going to continue to look to go up and up. Now, the problem is they can't control the judgment. And so I wanted to kind of go in on that intro because I wanted to hit this key point, and this was Ecclesiastes 1 and 9. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. There is no new thing under the sun. So I wanted to kind of highlight that because I want to kind of bring us down the story road. And if you can kind of go back to where January had hit, and you saw that the economy was starting to sputter, right? The economy was actually starting to stall on out. And there was almost good news on the horizon because there was a play that could be made by the Trump administration. All right, our economy is actually sputtering out because guess what? That Christmas season hadn't done as well as had been done in the past. And so those reporting numbers were coming in that our economy wasn't really as strong as they had predicted. But China was going through some sort of a virus or some sort of an epidemic. And then we looked and Trump was saying, "Oh, everything is going to be fine. Everything is going to be good. We have everything under control, and nothing's hit the American soil." And that was actually a lie because it had already started hitting us. It actually started affecting us because I knew that there are people that I had worked with. They had traveled to Central Asia. They had gone to Central Asia. They were there intimately and closely to a lot of the Chinese businessmen in the same hotel. And a lot of those folks, they were ill. One person was deathly ill for about a couple days. And they said, look, he had just managed to get on the plane and, he just slept it off. And this was actually 2 weeks before we had this conference where we all kind of come together and look at some different things. And so the funny thing is, I was right next to somebody and he had said, yeah, he went to urgent care. He had been feeling like crap and everything else, right? So the doctor just said, they had tested him, everything's fine. He just said that, it's kind of just a little bit of a flu and it was fine. Because the sad reality is that viral strain had already been in the United States because we've been so globally connected. And look, it was by honestly the grace and power of the Most High that I didn't go to that Central Asian country because I hadn't gotten back in time to get my visa that was required for that country. And see, I had been out and about enough that, you know, when I travel, I know, especially somewhere new and somewhere that's very, third world ish and less developed, it's a recipe for sickness. And see, back in 2018, I had to undergo Cipro and other antibiotic treatments. They were even trying to suggest I had an autoimmune disorder. But it was actually because I traveled to a specific country in the Middle East numerous times. And unfortunately, they already knew when you travel there, you're going to get sick and you might as well just document it in your VA because guess what? That's going to be an automatic um, rating because you're exposed to all sorts of viral strains and other bacterial issues. So, the Most High willing, I survived that. My blood work is good. Everything is good. I'm healthy. Even right now, I'm healthy. But I had to understand, and I knew what was happening. I said, okay, this judgment's coming. But you got to understand the judgment had to take place worldwide and then come to us. See, a lot of things, just like back in 2017, they had those fires in Greece. Now they have fires almost everywhere, but now we're dealing with over 200 fires in California alone. It's out of control. They know it's out of control. Save what they can save. Everything is burning on up. And kind of a quick story. I spoke to my brother last night, and he had told me about some of his friends. They live in the Pacific Northwest near Portland, and their friends had a house or some sort of beach house or recreation house, and it was being threatened by wildfires. And quite simply, the fire department and all the firefighters and they're on out there, and they just told them, hey, get what you can get and then leave because your house is going to be lost. So luckily for them, it wasn't very substantial in terms of the memorabilia, the nostalgia. It was an investment property, a beach house, but it was still a property nonetheless that's being damaged, and you're having catastrophic damage that's happening on the West Coast while you have a catastrophic pandemic and an economy going through a catastrophic issue of monetary loss, an ever contracting, which means it's getting smaller. And so, if you don't have the money to do all that stuff, then obviously people aren't going to rebuild like they think they're going to rebuild. Oh, on top of that, you just had a hurricane in southwest Louisiana that did catastrophic damage, also. So, I want to now go to where the meat of this conversation was headed. And I said, Lord, how am I going to present this? How am I going to present this? Well, I wanted to let people know the Most High put this on my mind: death and destruction by ignorance. And see, we can title this as much as we want. We could say, this is white fragility, and we knew that white fragility was going to ultimately be the downfall because we said as a people, look, we're not going to solve your problems. We're Israelites. We know we're Israelites. Give us our money. We're going to bounce. And if we don't bounce, guess what? May the Most High continue to give you what you deserve. So we put on that stoic face. We put on that face like flint, and we said, "Look, we're not going to go or do anything." That's Isaiah 51. We'll let God handle you. You let the Most High handle you. And see, that came about because, see, 2018, 2019, the humdrum came up with, "Look, we're going to have our reparations, and if we don't have our reparations, God's going to judge you." And we pray that God judges you, and we know He's gonna work y'all. But let me tell you, I had to kind of step out of the biblical, and I went to extra biblical sources, and I would encourage anyone that listens to read um, Jeremiah 50 and 51, and also to give you a better context, read Jasher 79 and 80. Because Jasher 79 and 80 was showing, the plagues that were building up to our people leaving. And you have to understand, not only did we have these plagues building up, but then they had to have their wise men. And then one wise man in particular that we see actually throughout the Old Testament, in that Old Testament being the wilderness, that was Balaam, son of Beor. So in Jasher, we actually get introduced to Balaam, son of Beor. And if you look at that, he kind of almost seems like a Old Testament Merlin. Because if you really discover and you really kind of drill down to Balaam and his history, his timeline, you see, man, this guy's like over 200 some years old. But see, Balaam knew how to entreat or actually come to meet the Most High. Now, he didn't meet the Most High in righteousness. So his power actually wasn't a righteous power. But he knew how to go through the mechanisms to have that power provided to him. See, you have to understand in the spiritual realm, you can actually derive power. Now, if that power is an unrighteous power, then you're going to get dealt with. If that power is a righteous power, then the Most High is going to bless you. So Balaam is on the scene and he's in Egypt. This is according to Jasher in 79 and 80. And Balaam is there to try to help Pharaoh to control Egypt. Because Moses came back and Moses said, "Look, I'm bringing the Most High with me. He's coming back." He said, "Look, I heard the people. I heard my people. I heard their cries. And then I remembered their forefather, Abraham and his son Isaac. And then I remembered Jacob and how I wrestled and gave him Israel. And then I remembered his people, my people. And I said I'd come back and get them on out. And now's that time. But before I got to let them go, I'm going to do something that's going to be stories for generations to come. And we still tell those stories because this is our quote unquote guiding light. And see, when you know that there's nothing new under the sun, then you know that we've already gone through a semblance of what we're seeing right now. Not the full resemblance, but a semblance, a part, a piece. And so then the Most High said, read Jubilees. And I read Jubilees 48. And Jubilees was actually talking about when the plagues would actually hit the Israelites, that was us, we would hide our dead. Why would it show that? Why would it say that? And I took that long dramatic pause because I want you to think about when COVID-19 had first hit, it hit dramatically in the population group of our captors. And so we knew that it was hitting their group, and it was hitting their group harder and faster. But see, we also knew that because there's a lot of us that love our captors, and that means, guess what? If you love your captors, then you're going to embrace the wickedness from them, which means, guess what? You're going to be in judgment. See, there's a lot of people that still embraces this society's wickedness, and they're being judged right alongside with our captors. But you got to remember, because we didn't know who we are, especially right now, we don't know who we are largely as a people. We're right along with our captors, and then our captors are doing the same routine and playbook that we're seeing in Jubilees chapter 48. And what that was saying was when the plagues were going throughout the land, and the Israelites, because of their wickedness, there's some of them that were just as wicked. We would kind of, I mean, and for lack of better terms, we would kind of call them the Candace Owens or the Denard, the Paris Denards, or whomever. You know, they're ones that are still speaking out ill against us in that Boule Taskmaster group. Well, the Most High was striking them down, and so we knew, okay, let's rein them on in. Let's hide their deaths because we know it's for them. We know this judgment is on them. It's for them. But what they will do is they'll say, okay, well, look at these handful of wicked Israelites that died. And now we'll paint the picture that it's these minorities, quote unquote, that are dying. And then you actually realize it's them that are dying, which is why you never have any type of statistics, given the racial breakdowns and demographics. And see, all throughout this time frame, before I had even really got into the Covenant Awakenings thing, I'd be on Teo and we'd be on the panels and we'd be discussing everything that was happening. And we would be questioning the statistics. I know on Lisa Cabrera's channel, she was always questioning the statistics. Because I'd be in her live chat too, like, hey, well, it's all about the numbers. It's all about the numbers. And then when they gave the numbers, they quickly would sweep it up, wash it away, you know. Well, Latinos and this and that. Because they never would want to go back to the actual numbers. And then you realized, oh, there is now an actual agenda to kill us on off because The numbers weren't quite pursuant to what reality was. It didn't match with reality. It didn't match with the number of cases that we were contracting. It didn't match with the number of deaths that were being so-called claimed. But see, the agenda was, well, we're going to blame it on them, and then we're going to push the virus on them. And we know that that virus is going to kill somebody. And then lo and behold, AstraZeneca said, we're not going to do the virus. We're not going to do the trials. We're going to pause it. But you had to understand, look, they're out of control. They're out of control on this. And they're in panic mode on this. And the reason I'm going to refer to that panic mode, I'm going to actually present this back to Bob Woodward in his Rage book. And if you haven't seen it, I'm sure most of us have. I'm going to assume that. Because this is very contemporary. And I like to hit on contemporary sources. In 6 months, it won't be very contemporary. But it was showing the mere fact that, out of President Trump's own words, we're not being truthful with the information because we don't want to cause a panic. Let me repeat this so you all can kind of get the magnitude. We're not going to be truthful with the information because we don't want to have people to panic. So there's a lot of points that I could go on and on and on. But I'm going to hit on a couple of key points to this. Number one, they want to lie about the pandemic because they want to lie about what's happening to this nation. See, as plainly as I can put this, they have to lie because if they don't lie, they don't have anything that they can use to provide a counter argument as to who the people are. See, you have to understand, they know that we're the people. They know that. Oh, you some Hebrew Israelites. You know how many times I heard that? Or you a Hebrew Israelite, black Hebrew Israelites. Oh, all this ha ha ha. Yeah, right. Those folks are crazy. You know how many times I heard that at work? They know. But see, for them, I just have to be ignorant. And I have to keep my head in the sand and just let it blow over. See, you got to understand, all throughout history, they never knew how to solve problems. They never knew that. So by the thing that they're acknowledging or not acknowledging, that's the very same thing that they're going to be judged by. And that judgment, it's here, they see it, but they don't want to actually believe it. It's tough. They don't want to believe it. So Trump, in his infinite wisdom, did what any quote unquote true American is doing at this time. Well, I'm going to ignore and I'm going to denigrate. And we've already gone through this. We've already said this in our community. Look, they'd rather harden their heart than actually understand we're the people, because they now know that we're the people. They just know that they can't say it because they understand the moment that I say it, I speak it on out. You are the people. They're afraid that there will literally be a comment striking them dead. Oh, and yeah, there are comments on the way. I can't make this up. So for them, I have to keep ignoring it. And we're just looking at it like, okay, keep ignoring it. Keep ignoring it. Most High's going to judge you. Yeah, right. Okay, go ahead. Are we not in this pandemic? Well, it's a fake virus. Okay, what? Your Messiah was awfully scared. So your Messiah had lied. Well, we don't want to have panic. No, it's not about panic. Because you got to understand, if you're fearful, then guess what you're operating in? Sin. Fear is a sin. That's why it always says, fear not, for I am God. This is why we don't fear. We know who our salvation is. Man, we are getting shot and killed in these streets. I'm not fearful because I know who my salvation is. I don't need to lie. No, we're not the people. I know where my salvation comes from. Oh man, my lights are getting ready to get turned off. I'm not going to panic. I know where my salvation comes from. Food's running low. I don't need to panic. I know where my salvation comes from. We're being judged. I don't need to panic. I know where my salvation comes from. And they didn't do that. Actually, they went the complete opposite. And then they went to just completely lie. And here's the problem with the lies. Your lies get found out. Everything that was hidden in the dark always comes to light. That's in Corinthians. It always comes to light. And see, now the question is, what else did they lie about? And what is the extent of the lies? And now, yes, white folks are going to have to question everything. See, the turnaround for this was that at the beginning of the week, I said, okay, Lord, I know you're going to move. I said, I know this is going to be like a Pentecost moment. I said, Lord, I know that your spirit is going to somehow break down things and break through things and move mountains in the spiritual that's going to manifest in the natural. And then, in the pressure in the dark, all I could feel was, okay, God is moving. But I understood, look, God wasn't just going to move just for my awareness of my situation. No, he's moving on a larger scale, larger than me, larger than us. And see, the way that he's not moving. Honestly, let me break this down, and this may ruffle a few feathers because we like to be on the forefront of everything. We want to be on the pedestal. That's how we go. That's how we roll. And let me explain this. God was always trying to bring in the Gentiles. He was always trying to bring in the Gentiles. He needed a people to do it. That's why he chose us. We're not supposed to be there to just denigrate and, get mad and blah, 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 blah. That's not his purpose. And if you think that is, then guess what? You're going to get judged. And that's going to be all on you. So if you want to have that spirit of grudge, if you want to have that spirit of hate, go ahead. I'm not stopping you. But you ain't going to make it into the promised land. Just think about that. And I had to think about that. And the Most High, he put that in my mind. He said, look, this wasn't about Israel. This wasn't about Judah, but this was about them. Because I am judging them. I'm not judging you all. Do you understand? Listen. He is judging them. He's not judging us. So even though we don't see our exodus materializing, that's because we are not going to necessarily see our exodus materialize during their time of judgment. During their time of judgment. See, I wanted to see all the heavens crack open and us going, and God said, yeah, that's what you want. That's not me. See, I got to do this thing throughout. I'm not just here to put a band-aid over a broken bone. I'm here to set it because this thing is a compound fracture. The bone's all poking out over the skin. I got to set this thing. I got to make this thing right. I got to put the cast on it after surgery. It's going to have to go through some rehab before it's full strength. Now, that's to say that we're not going to be here for a long time, but that's to say, look, it's not a grace period anymore because this thing is going on them. So what we're actually seeing, we're seeing their judgment. So you have to understand, look, there's a lot of long faces on the quote unquote true Americans because they can't really justify the lie. Justify the lie. Okay, then fine. Then if you're lying about that, then explain to black people why we're Negro and we have the dumb diverses and we have the Portuguese Spanish slave trade and we have all of these historical documents that name us as Judah, House of David. So what else are you lying? And now you have to understand they're in a quandary. How bad are the deaths? How many people have truly died? How sick is America? How bad is the stock market? How many businesses are really surviving? And how much in debt is this country, is this nation? See, they now have to be able to begin to reconcile how much they've lied. Oh, and guess what? Now the world, they're looking and they're saying, man, how much do these fools lie? Is everything just a lie? And we just sit back and we tell them, yes, it is. Welcome to our 400-year nightmare. Hope you all enjoy. And I hope you brace for the hard impact because the plane is going down. Now, we have our parachutes. You all don't. We're now at the point where the captain said, hey, if you choose to stay on this ride, please grab your mask, put it over your face so the oxygen can freely come to you so you don't pass on out, and then help out your neighbor. We're like, nope, I'm getting ready to unbuckle my seatbelt because I got my parachute. He's called the Most High. And we're getting out of here. But don't you wanna help? What about what your ancestors did? What about us? No thanks. Don't you want to vote? Don't you want to make a difference? Don't you care about what your ancestors did? What about us? I don't have an answer for you. Because if you had cared and truly cared, you would have come clean with the truth. So you got to remember, a lie doesn't get better over time. It actually gets worse. It actually gets compounded. And that's what we've seen. That's what we're witnessing. So now they didn't actually understand. Trump gave us all the ammunition we needed. Because here's the crux of the problem. We know that we're the people. We know that America is getting judged. Now, how much more does America need to go through judgment before they know and they want to actually say we're the people? Because if not, then we know America's effectively finished. So now the question is, now is this your count off? Is this the 45 day, the 60 day? Is this the count? And here's the thing. We're not the judge of that. They are. So in conclusion, if you like the content from Covenant Awakenings, please like, share, and subscribe, and visit us at covenantawakenings.com. I also have my Patreon and CashApp if you want to give. I appreciate those that give, and I'm not going to beg for the money. I'm not, and honestly, I don't have to. I'm not trying to be smug or anything else like that. But look, God does provide. He does. I just had this on out here because honestly, I want to try to grow some things because I want to help us. We're a community. We are a community. We're the believers. Whether your bloodline or grafted in, this is for us. So in my description, I also have HebrewSphere.com and some other links from Black History in the Bible and then TeoMinistries.ning.com. So again, many will go here and there to increase knowledge. So with that, Siemi, Shalom, Salama, peace and blessings, Israel.